UFC 304 is this weekend. Great fight card. Great pay-per-view. I do have this question though. Why is Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev on the early prelims? Does that make sense to you guys? Considering the fact that Christian, Leroy, Duncan, and Gregor Rodriguez are on the main card. I don't get it. I really don't get it. At least if you're putting it, at the main event of the prelims or something, you want to get us to watch the prelims. I get it. But why are you putting it so down low? Muhammad Mokaev and Manel Kape is a great fight. Great importance in the flyweight division. I don't get it. And Mokaev's from the UK. Now you guys have to explain to me what's the difference between the UK and England. Why some people have the UK flag and some others have the England flag? Isn't it the same thing? England is in the UK. Am I tripping? Anyways, I'm not good at fucking geographical shit, so I'm not even gonna go too deep into it. But if you know and you can explain it to me, long story short, put it down in the comments. So first things, I am going to break down this fight just because it's an interesting one. Then we'll move into the main card. So Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape. Listen, I do have some doubts and trust issues about Manel Kape just because he hasn't been very consistent. Not even just inside the cage, but outside of it as well. Missing weights, pulling out of fights, and injuries and health problems. So it's difficult to put your trust in Manel Kape right now. And even his last performance against Felipe dos Santos, who was a guy coming in, I think it was his first fight in the UFC, wasn't the best performance. He got pushed in that fight. Felipe is a great fighter as well, but you should have been dominating that guy, and you didn't. So Manel Kape not on the best of streak as of recent, whereas Muhammad Mokaev also, he's been pushed in certain fights, and he's not invincible as we've seen, even though he's undefeated. But he's not invincible. He's been caught in submissions, and he's been fighting a way that most people don't like, which it is what it is. But he's been consistent everywhere, like outside the cage and inside the cage with his performances. Like I said, he's been pushed, but he's been winning. He's been winning pretty convincingly. So because of that reason, I think I am going to go Muhammad Mokaev here, probably by decision. Like I said, if it's Manel Kape, and you can put your 100% trust that not only does he come in, he makes the fight, but he comes in weight, at the weight limit, and he comes in like prepared and ready for a flyweight fight. There's just too many roadblocks before we get into even just like, are you able to win against a Mokaev, even at your prime, even at your best, which I think he does have the chance, but I just don't know if all the roadblocks at first allow me to pick a Manel Kape in this fight. So I am going to go Muhammad Mokaev here, and I'm going to go by decision, unfortunately. It's not like I want to see Mokaev win. He is very, very boring for the flyweight division. Manel Kape has a much more interesting personality and fighting style, but yeah, it's just tough recently, trusting Manel Kape to do good. So unfortunately, I am going to go Mokaev by decision. I'm gonna move straight into the first fight of the main card, which is Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. We're finally seeing some Giga Chikadze action. He hasn't been very, very active in the past few years. I mean, since his fight against Calvin Kattar, I should say, it was a massacre, a demolition fight. I think he probably took some years off of his life in that fight. It was a bad one. If you haven't seen that one, I mean, yeah, you're gonna lose CTE and brain cell just watching it. But he took some time off, which was obviously needed, and then he came back, I think, against Caceres, and had a pretty decent performance against Caceres. I think he won a decision in that one. But Alex Caceres is not Arnold Allen. I think Arnold Allen is the dark horse of the featherweight division, or I don't know if dark horse is the right word, but kind of a guy that is being overlooked a little bit or underlooked. I don't know, basically not a lot of people are putting him in, the top of the featherweight division, where I think he should be mentioned, because his only losses were to Max Holloway and Movsar Evloev. I think it was Movsar Evloev, and those are two guys at the top. Those were actually great losses when you look at that fight against Max Holloway. Looking back, I mean, Arnold arguably won that fight. It was a close fight, but he had his moments. It was a great close fight, and same thing against Movsar Evloev as well. It was a very competitive fight, and I think Arnold Allen is extremely complete as an MMA fighter. and just very, very good in every aspect. Whereas Giga Chikadze is a bit more one-dimensional. He relies more on his striking and kicking, and he needs range, he needs space. And Arnold Allen is a very good guy, like coming forward, putting the pressure on you the whole fight. And I think he's going to be able to like mitigate that risk and kind of cut off the distance, which makes Giga a bit, stuck, because if he's not at kicking range, he's a bit stuck with his striking, because I even think his boxing isn't the best. So I am going to go Arnold Allen here. Arnold Allen, either by late TKO or probably just decision, because Giga is very, very tough. I mean, that fight against Calvin Kattar was, demolition. He just never gave up, never found a way out. So if it's that same toughness and stuff like that, it's going to be tough to finish him. But yeah, I'd probably go Arnold Allen by decision in this case. Pretty dominant decision. Let's move on. Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. I know nothing about Leroy Duncan. Very, very little, to be honest. I think he's, been in the UFC, has a few fights, maybe 3 or 4 fights in the UFC. I know obviously he's from the UK, so the UFC is trying to push him, but I don't understand why this fight is being, pushed to that extent, on the main card over a Manel Kape and Muhammad Mokaev. I just don't understand. I don't see how it makes sense, but I don't know. How old is Duncan? Let me just Google it to see how old he is. Because if he's a young, really, really young prospect, then maybe I can understand, but let me just see. Christian Duncan. That's an American name too. Christian Duncan. He's 29, All right. So he's not super old. I guess they're trying to push him as a future prospect in the middleweight division, maybe, I guess. But, Mokaev is what, 21, 22, I think. He's super young, so if there's somebody you should push, it maybe should be Mokaev, but at the same time, he's been boring fights, so I don't know. Yeah, I still think Manel Kape and Mokaev should be on there. It's a more important fight, more interesting fight for the rankings, for everything. But in this fight, like I said, I just don't know Duncan enough. Gregory Rodriguez, I know this dude. He's been obviously in like a very popular moment when he got cut over all of his face and he continued to fight. It was kind of one of the most nastiest cuts ever. But I think he's a bit on the older side. So just because of that, I'd probably go Leroy Duncan, just a bit younger. The UFC's clearly trying to push him, a young prospect. Probably this is a favorable matchup for him. But in terms of the skills and stuff, I don't know enough, so I can't make an educated pick. But just based off of the age, which I think Gregory's more on the older side, I'd go Leroy. And I'm going to just go by decision. Lightweights. King Green versus Paddy Pimblett. So are we actually going to call him King Green? Yes, we are. Bobby Green, whatever. This is a tough fight. This is a very, very tough fight to call, just because Paddy Pimblett is difficult to gauge as an MMA fighter. I think in terms of the technical aspect of it, he isn't the most high level, I should say. Especially in the striking departments, he fights with his head up, chin up, and hands down. So he's very, very vulnerable against a striker like King Green to get jabbed upside his face the entire 3 rounds and completely get butchered. But the thing is, he does have grappling, and his chin is insane, and that makes a big difference, because a guy like Drew Dober endured a tremendous amount of damage against Green and then knocked him out. And that's one thing about Bobby Green. He has great stand-up, obviously, volume, throws a lot of volume, and his grappling defense is great as well. But he doesn't have the best chin. He got caught by Tony Ferguson. He got caught in his last fight against Jim Miller. He got caught, obviously, against Jalen Turner, which was probably the worst knockout in recent UFC history. The most, latest stoppage. He endured way too much damage in that one. So his chin isn't recoverable. It's definitely, a bit slippy right now. And that's why I'm a bit worried for Bobby Green to maybe just, catch a shot he doesn't see and just go out. It's just that type of chin, you know what I mean? You just never know. But I think I'm gonna go Bobby Green still. Just on paper, I feel like he has more tools to win, and the striking of Paddy Pimblett is just so bad, and his cardio is not good as well. Like if they're stuck in the late second and third round, Paddy usually, slows down. In the Tony Ferguson fight, that third round was horrible. Even against Jared Gordon as well. Like that third round, he actually loses cardio pretty fast. And yeah, for those reasons, I'm gonna just go King Green. Probably by decision. He doesn't knock people out, Bobby Green, really. So yeah, it's either going to be Bobby Green by decision or Paddy by submission, to be honest. It's tough. It's really tough. I do see Paddy, grappling heavy. I just don't know if like Paddy can grapple for 3 rounds consecutively without getting tired. I don't know if he can do that. He's never done it. Against Tony, he grappled a little bit in the first and second round, but he couldn't do it in the third round. And it takes a lot of energy to grapple. So that's what I think Bobby Green has a lot of, great takedown defense and submission defense as well. So yeah, if I had to pick, I'd probably just go Bobby Green. I'd go Bobby Green by decision in this one. It's a tough matchup though. Very tough matchup. Moving on to the co-main event, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes for the interim heavyweight title. Probably should be the undisputed heavyweight title, realistically speaking. It's but not just because of the whole John Jones situation, that he's been injured, hasn't fought in years, and is going to fight Stipe, which nobody wants to see. But he's also recently been arrested for some drug related stuff again. Or I think no, let me just not say shit. But he got accused by a drug person that I think he assaulted her or something. So he's going to be in some other legal issues. For all of that piling up, I'm just like, just give them the undisputed title, and then John Jones can come back and fight whoever's the champion. I feel like it just makes sense. Why let him hold the belt and fight Stipe, nobody wants to see, and be in more legal trouble? I just don't understand. But whatever. Regardless, we're moving on. It doesn't matter. Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blaydes is a great fight. I would have loved to see him against Suragon, to be honest, but Suragon is running. Obviously, he's ducking. Curtis Blaydes has balls and is stepping up again in enemy territory. And I said this in the deeper dive. I think Curtis Blaydes is, with Tom Aspinall and John Jones, respectively speaking, one of the most complete heavyweight on the roster. We don't really see complete fighter. He has everything now, and we've seen it. He has the power in his hands, great striking, and great grappling and wrestling. So he's very, very much a dangerous opponent for pretty much anybody in the heavyweight division. But I'm going to go Tom Aspinall. I think Tom Aspinall has everything that I just said about Curtis Blaydes times 10. I just think, really, on paper, he's that good. And I made the mistake of picking Sergey Pavlovich in the last fight. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm truly on the bandwagon of Tom Aspinall. I'm hopping on it. I'm writing it. Pause. I do think Tom Aspinall is, legit in every aspect. But like I said, Curtis Blaydes, man, could spoil everything. I'm probably going to make a whole entire video on this, just like the amounts of, I don't want to say pressure, because, yeah, there is a lot of pressure on Tom Aspinall, but the opportunity for Curtis Blaydes to basically crumble Tom Aspinall and crumble basically the entire MMA community's hope for Tom Aspinall to get a fight against John Jones, and, for John Jones's, like, love story with Dana White to just stop and get someone that, like, can finally stop the train, right? Curtis Blaydes can stop it all. He can, spoil the party, pretty much, literally. And yeah, so there's, like I said, there's a lot of pressure on Tom Aspinall, and I think it's almost like a win-win for Curtis Blaydes. If he loses to Tom Aspinall, it's just not that bad. And if he wins, it's a humongous win. He's not expected to win this, but he has chances. But I am still gonna go Tom Aspinall. I'm gonna go Tom Aspinall by TKO. I think he knocks him out, just because Curtis Blaydes, he's been tempting to strike a lot, and in all his recent fights, he wants to strike, and you can tell. I just think it's a bad idea against Tom Aspinall. He has very heavy hands, and I think if he catches him, he can knock him out. So I'm gonna go Tom Aspinall by late first round TKO or second round TKO. That's what I'm gonna go with. Main event: Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad. I'm going Leon Edwards. I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, you can pick Belal Muhammad, and I understand he doesn't. I'm not saying he has no chance to win this. He does, but on paper, it just seems like Leon Edwards is the much better, more crisp fighter. And Belal Muhammad's a great grappler, but it's not like he's been like ragdolling his opponents. Like he did it probably only to Wonder Boy, who has horrible takedown defense and horrible get-ups. Leon has proven that he has great takedown defense, great get-ups. And, I mean, he fought wrestlers back-to-back. Now, Kamaru Usman twice, Colby Covington. I mean, he's prepared. He's prepared for that type of matchup. And on the feet, I think it's a no match. It's a no match. Belal Muhammad's, been improving, but Leon's leaps ahead in terms of the striking. We've seen it in the first fight, and we've seen it as well in his last recent performances. Even though, like, the fight against Colby Covington, respectively, wasn't interesting, it wasn't exciting, but he dominated. He dominated on the feet, took no risk, took no damage, and obviously taking no risk is bad. But when you're a guy like Leon Edwards, who's really crisp, who finds the shot, I mean, you want to keep the belt. That's what you're doing, and I think he can do that to Belal Muhammad again, and I think he can do it a bit more vicious. So I'm gonna go Leon Edwards by decision. Yes. Obviously, the two decision makers are gonna go to decision. Can you actually believe it? Yeah, I think if you put money on that, you probably make no money. You put $100, you lose money if they go to the decision, because it's so guaranteed. But yeah, I am going Leon Edwards by decision. I just think he's crispier, and Belal Muhammad has a block head. I would take Leon by TKO if Belal didn't have a block head, but he does. He has a great chin, and he looks to be on EPO or something, because I don't know, that build is crazy. Have you seen Belal Muhammad's build, bro? He's built like Hulk, mini Hulk right now. He looks like he's on that like Dagestani shit. I don't know what it is, but he's looking buff. I don't think that makes you a good fighter, but I think it definitely makes you a bit tougher, maybe. I don't know. So I'll take Leon Edwards by decision here. Let me know what your predictions are down below. Hopefully it's a great card, and if I have the time, I'll probably be streaming as well, so look out for that, and hope you have a great rest of your day, boys. Peace out.